Hey, I'm not surprised, motherfuckers.
What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to the Courtside Soundoff podcast. Once again, I'm Josh Evanoff, as always welcome by the one and only man of the hour, too sweet to be sour, future Jiu-Jitsu world champion. Actually, for today, it's future boxing, Misfits boxing world champion, named Ortega. Little in-joke there. Anyways, we got a lot of stuff to talk about this week. UFC 286, UFC San Antonio. A bit of news to go ahead and hit at the end of the show. As always, are brought to you by two amazing sponsors of the program, Rogue Energy and ELYXR.com. Rogue Energy, they keep you fueled up. They keep you going through the day. Obviously, whether you're going ahead and playing video games, going to the gym, or working just from home like I do, Rogue Energy is very, very helpful. They can help you get 10% off with code SOUNDOFF at checkout. It's code SOUNDOFF at checkout for 10% off. And on the opposite end of the spectrum, ELYXR. ELYXR.com, leading distributor of Delta 8, 9, and 10, as well as HHG products. Whether you want vapes, joints, gels, distillate, whatever you want, they got it. You can get 10% off with code SOUNDOFF at checkout. Personally attest, great product, and incredible sponsor of the show. But in terms of the fights, man, UFC 286 going down last Saturday night from the O2 Arena in London, England, and dude, the fans showed up for this one. They showed up and they showed out. If you guys remember the last time the UK got a pay-per-view, it was UFC 204 back in 2016, but they held that card at like 4 a.m. for the UK fans. This time, you see what happens when they actually go ahead and they're allowed to have a card at their normal time because they were fucking crazy from the opening fight, man. But in the main event, the last fight of the card, Leon Rocky Edwards. I'm gonna go and say it. I'm gonna say it. Stop saying shit is a fluke just because somebody wins in the last round, man. Just because somebody comes from behind does not mean their win is a fluke, because Leon Edwards, and still, everybody thought he was gonna go ahead and lose. Everybody thought the first win was a fluke. And instead he goes out there and outpoints, and yeah, man, has a great performance. Used a lot of leg kicks, a lot of kicks to the body, incredible lateral movement. And whenever he got taken down, was able to scoot right back up. And Kamaru was not able to get much going, man. In the end, he ends up winning majority decision. First of all, what'd you think about the fight itself? I know a lot of people, admittedly, only a couple of them, thought that Kamaru won the fight or he had a claim. How'd you personally score the fight?
I had it for Leon. I had a few versions of how I thought it possibly could have been scored, because I you know me, Josh, I mention this every time. I try to come up with all the possible variables and possibilities and rounds that maybe even I had a hard time scoring, just to potentially win it or potentially see how it would come out. I had it for Leon, and then I had another scorecard. I don't remember if it was a draw. I sent you a picture. It might have been a draw or a way that Kamaru could win it, but it'd be very, you really be pushing it if I remember.
You'd have to give him like all the lean rounds, basically.
Yeah, the swing rounds, I guess, is probably the way to put it.
Yeah.
But a lot of fighters were fighting on what seemed like the back foot on this card, Josh, and they've been getting up some nods, and they will kind of talk about later on in the card. Like, it was kind of like it's kind of weird how it was like a reoccurring theme on this card. I don't know if you kind of noticed that or kind of thinking about it now.
You know what's kind of weird is like a lot of the fights on the card, they had like not a bad decision, but there was always like one dissenting judge, or like it seemed like the judges were looking for different things on fight night than they normally do. Because I know some people were like, oh, just, they're being biased towards UK fighters, but like, that wasn't, Gaethje won a close fight, and that fight had weird scoring. I mean, like, there was just weird scoring all night. But I do see your point, though. A lot, like, Leon won this fight moving backwards, which is not probably what you would have expected to see. But in terms of the fight, I know that you did actually send me that. I remember you had, basically, if you were to go ahead and give all the swing rounds to Kamaru, and you're being really, really generous, you can go ahead and give him the win. But I scored it, I believe 48-46, which would have just been Leon winning 4 rounds plus the third round went to Kamaru. Plus that was the round that had the point deduction, which we do have to talk about because I'm a huge Leon Edwards guy. I picked him to beat Kamaru twice. No, not bragging or anything. Totally a brag. But
he almost fucked himself.
Yeah, he did almost fuck himself because there were a couple of shots there that because it wasn't just the fence grab. He hit him in the dick too. And he said that he pulled his glove and there's other stuff. And
I get it, man. I've seen that video too. Grab his stick and twist it. Like I get it. The technique is out there, but doesn't mean you need to use it. Yeah,
exactly. And some of those the dick kicks they were kind of like on they could have let it go or they could have it wasn't super clear. But the fence grab was brutal. And so I think it was actually a really good thing they took a point away. I thought Herb, he gets a lot of shit these days. I thought that was honestly a great moment from Herb, because you gotta call it in that situation. Because Kamaru was gonna take him down, if it wasn't for that fence grab. So, yeah. Anyways, man, as far as the main event goes, hell of a performance by Leon Edwards, but I almost feel like I don't want to say all the shine, because it is such a rare thing to have. This is a guy that, let's just put in perspective. Nobody thought this would happen. And I did, a Twitter thread about this, last night, about how, everybody thought that, Colby and Kamaru were just so far ahead of the division. And look what happened when they finally let somebody fight for the belt. A guy who had been winning for a long time, but just couldn't get a shot. He won the belt and beat Kamaru twice. Which is partially why I'm even more upset that now we're just bringing Colby back in and pretending that nothing's changed. Because if you did not watch UFC 286, boy, Colby Covington was in the front row. He was all over the broadcast. And dude, it almost felt like the last year, and this is a term that you don't really use for sports, but it felt like it was non-canon. You know what I mean? Colby's been gone for a year. He's had all the legal stuff. We've talked about him fighting Hamzat. We haven't heard about anything else outside of that. And basically he just shows up on weigh-in day as a backup and oh yeah, Colby's fighting for the belt now. Everything's back to normal. What do you kind of make of all this, man? Because we'll talk about him getting the title shot in a second. We'll talk about the merits of that in a second. But in terms of his kind of really fast return.
I mean, look, it's fun to see him back, but to kind of get into the conversation you really want to get into, Josh, this is the most ridiculous shit I've seen in the sport, Josh.
Mm-hmm.
It absolutely makes no sense that this man is getting another opportunity to title. Look, it's not like he can't get that shot again. It's just that right now, he doesn't deserve it. I was very set on my mind that they were going to have the next fight, ideally in their world, maybe Jorge beats Gilbert, which who knows? I don't know. I don't think it'll happen, but you never know. And he would get that title shot against Leon. And if not, Gilbert would get a shout if he beat, or whoever it was going to be. I guess we didn't know who the winner is. Of course, we didn't know who the winner was going to be at the time. But the person who would win that fight would get their nod at the title. But instead, like you said, we get the fucking. This is fucking highway robbery, Josh. This is some Bonnie and Clyde shit. This is some fucking. I fucking can't think of the guy who fought Anderson Silva who fucking robbed the bank, but it's that kind of shit.
Oh, you're talking about Lee Murray.
Some Lee Murray shit, dude. Some fucking.
They're gonna make a Showtime doc about him, a 4-part series.
Fucking awesome! I did hear about that a while ago.
Anderson's gonna be in it. It's gonna be. I'm so excited for that shit, dude. Yeah, it's gonna. If you guys don't know, Lee Murray, former UFC fighter, knocked out Tito Ortiz in a street fight. Fought Anderson Silva.
Whoa, I didn't know that.
He knocked him out in a street fight. I don't think he knocked out Chuck, but I think he might have hit Chuck or something because that was whenever Chuck and Tito were boys. Yeah, he was a bad motherfucker. Fought Anderson Silva, I think for the Cage Rage light heavyweight title or something. Also committed the biggest bank robbery in the history of the world. It was him and 4 other dudes went and robbed a bank in the UK, and they got away with I don't know how many millions, but it was it's a pretty crazy story. So, yeah, you guys should do some research on Lee Murray, or just watch the documentary that's coming out in a month. So, but anyways.
In a month? Holy shit.
Yeah, it's coming out. It may not be a month, but it's coming out very soon. I just don't know what's up.
By the way, great TikTok clip right there.
Oh, yeah, shout out TikTok people. Shout out you guys. Anyways, man. Look, in terms of the merits of Colby's title shot, right? Is it the worst title shot of all time? No. It's not. I mean, let's be honest. Like,
what do you think it is, actually?
So if we're taking all of the context out of the situation, the worst one is John Lober. John Lober fought Frank Shamrock at UFC Brazil in 1998. That was like UFC. It was UFC Brazil / UFC 17 and a half because UFC, if I remember correctly, when they went over like seas, they would put it as a half. UFC was fucking weird back in the day. No wonder they didn't take off until they got bought out by Dana and the Fertitta.
Surprised they make it like 1/3 or 3/4.
Right? But anyway, so they fought, John Lober fought Frank Shamrock at UFC Brazil, in 1998. As for the UFC light heavyweight title. But it's important to note, by this point, Frank Shamrock had, he'd already won the title. He defended it like 3 or 4 times. He was basically the best guy in the company, and they didn't really have anybody for him to fight, so they went and grabbed John Lober. John Lober beat him the year before. But after beating Frank Shamrock, who, if you guys don't know Frank Shamrock, guy's been erased from history, bad motherfucker. Anyways, he beat Frank Shamrock. He proceeded to lose like his next 6 fights. And they just brought him in because they didn't have anybody else for Frank Shamrock to fight. Without the context involved, that's the worst title shot. But it was 1998. There weren't many fighters. There weren't many fighters at light heavyweight, and there weren't many fighters that you can point to and be like, hey, Frank Shamrock lost to this guy. So, from that, without context being in it, that's the worst one. But Colby Covington getting a title shot might be, I don't want to say it's the worst one of the modern era, because I think Dan Henderson, Michael Bisping's up there. Holly Holm, Jermaine Duranamy is up there, but even then, in each of those 2 examples I just gave, Holly, she only got that title shot because Chris Cyborg turned it down, because she was dealing with USADA issues at the time. And then with Dan Henderson getting a title shot, him and Michael Bisping had history, and if you look at the division at that point in time, whenever they made that fight, Yoel Romero was suspended, Leo Machida was coming off a loss, Anderson Silva was coming off a loss, Luke Rockhold was coming off a loss, Chris Weidman was coming off a loss. Like, there's factors involved. This is the first time where I've seen a UFC, somebody get like a title shot, and it's like, I mean, Angel, how many reasonable contenders can you put above Colby Covington right now? Like, I would just go.
A lot. I mean, everybody probably below him. Like, everybody from fucking, what is it, 2 down to 6 probably.
Give reason, say their names though, just so people who listening in the car,
Gilbert, Shockbot, Bilal. I'm probably missing one in here, but I mean those are like
Hamzat
3.
Maybe.
Oh, Hamzat, yeah. But that's 4 right there though. Like I said, not even putting a crazy amount of thought into it.
Yeah, that's how I feel about it. I mean, it is to have multiple people, and I understand some. And by the way, let's just get rid of all the terrible narratives already, because there's some people who are like, Leon Edwards got a title shot off of beating Nate Diaz. I'm like, no, Leon Edwards got a title shot off of winning 10 fucking fights in a row. It's just you can't compare them. I mean, whenever you consider all the context of the amount of contenders, like Bilal Muhammad, how many fights he won in a row? 8.
Yeah,
8 fight unbeaten streak.
8, 9. It's up there.
Yeah, fucking Hamzat is undefeated. And if you want to give him a title shot, here's the thing: there's multiple guys where you're like, okay, if you don't want to give Hamzat a title shot because he's undefeated, bad motherfucker, high ranked, but he missed weight last time. Okay, you can pivot to Bilal, who is riding a 9-fight unbeaten streak. You can pivot to Shavkat. You're like, well, Shavkat's too low ranked. What about Gilbert Burns, who's fighting in a week and is just beat Neil Magny? And Neil Magny plus Jorge Masvidal, that's better than,
Wonder Boy.
There you go. And Wonder Boy, thank you. So, it's just
a Wonder Boy who's coming off a Kevin Holland win now, too.
Yeah, exactly. There's multiple guys to where you can point to and be like, this guy deserves a title shot. I don't understand how you can come to Colby Covington, who's had 3 title shots in the last 5 years, and he hasn't beaten a single. Has he beaten anybody? I mean, hold on. Let's just have some fun here, Angel.
The last person he beat was Jorge.
Yeah, okay. So his last person they beat was Jorge. Before that, it was Tyron Woodley,
who lost to Jake Paul.
Yeah, who lost to Jake Paul. Before that, it was Robbie Lawler, who is 40 years old
and unranked.
And in case somebody's like, well, what was happening whenever they did fight Colby? Okay. He had lost three of his last four by the time he fought Colby. That was Robbie Lawler. Tyron Woodley was riding a 2-fight losing streak and getting 50-40. He had lost his last 10 rounds combined against Gilbert Burns and Kamaru Usman. What about RDA? RDA is his last legitimately good win. And there's no argument. I don't care what anybody says. RDA going into that fight was a bad motherfucker. You know, he had won 3 fights in a row, 170. He had just been the champ at 155 the year prior. But here's the catch, Angel. I want you to think. I don't know if you're looking at his wiki right now. I hope you're not. When do you think that fight happened? RDA versus Colby Covington.
2017.
Close. It was 2018. It's been 5 years since Colby Covington has beaten somebody that's coming off a win. I want you to... 5 years since Colby Covington coming off of a win. And if we're being honest, if you look back at his last couple fights, like Jorge was riding a 3-fight unbeaten streak.
Josh, this is our sport.
Here's the thing. I'm at the point now where MMA is a sport, but the UFC is an entertainment company. Like, you can't defend it at a certain point. Because as much as I love, like, and here's the thing, is like sometimes this does lead to great moments. Like, for example, as a Leon fan, having to watch Leon climb and scratch and crawl to get a title shot was so agonizing. But then whenever he knocked Kamaru Usman the fuck out, and then whenever he beat him again, I was like, dude, I've been telling y'all this dude is sick. I've been telling y'all for a while now that he needs a title shot and he's the real deal. You know, and so sometimes it can lead to great moments. But like, dude, like, Bilal Muhammad is, how old is he? He's 35?
It's such a trip. And because literally I saw his first ever fight in the UFC.
Yeah, he did. Yeah. He's 34. Okay? He's, and in case, like, okay. We've been butchering this whole argument for the last, the argument for Colby to get a title shot for the last 5 minutes. Like, there's literally no defensible angle in which you can do it. The only defensible angle in which you could do it was if Kamaru beat Leon. Because those two have history. But even then, Colby's lost to him twice. What are we doing here?
What are you doing? Why are you hurting me? Why are you damaging this relationship? Why are you hurting me?
Well, and here's the thing, too, is like, and I see a lot of fans are being like, Colby Covington is a draw. And I think that there is a legitimate...
To an extent.
There is, to an extent. That's the way to put it. There is some truth to that. However, Colby Covington is a draw within the MMA community. The MMA fans like Colby Covington. But he's not a draw to the average person. Does he have more stock than Bilal Muhammad? Sure. Is it massive enough to where he should be just getting title shots willy-nilly like he has been? No. In fact, some of his numbers were some of the worst of all time. I remember whenever he fought, it was either Woodley or Lawler, he set the record for the lowest ESPN UFC card. His fight with Masvidal on pay-per-view did so bad we never even learned the numbers. Nobody even think about that? You can't find it. I mean, you can't, UFC 272, try and find the pay-per-view numbers. Because whenever it's a good night at the office, you always hear the numbers.
We never got an estimate, like a rumored amount?
Not a single one. So, and that was disappointing, because I was actually really looking forward to finding out that. Because I thought that card could have been interesting, because you got two guys who are coming off losses, main event, doing a pay-per-view, not a title on the line. I thought it was going to be interesting to see. But we never found out those numbers. And if you never find out the numbers, it's because the numbers are bad. That's always just the truth. Back in the day, Dave Meltzer used to give out numbers because he had access to cable numbers, but since it's moved to ESPN in 2019, he stopped giving out numbers. So whenever you see numbers pop up every once in a while, it's just because somebody from the UFC we gotta make sure the press knows about how well Kamaru versus Jorge did, for example. That first fight did 1.3 million. But the only reason why we learned that is because it got reported by the Wall Street Journal 3 days after the pay-per-view happened. Because the UFC wanted that information to get out there, that's just how the press works. So, yeah, I mean, Colby is not a big enough draw for this fight to make sense, and it's just fucking stupid. I mean, that's the best way to put it. So, I mean, any closing thoughts on that? Like, 'cause I know that I kind of did a bit of a monologue there, but I can't
there's not
prepare
much.
for this week.
I mean, there's not much else to it. I mean, you kind of just laid it out there for the people. I mean, it's just dumb. It's ridiculous. It's embarrassing. It shouldn't be happening. People are getting robbed of opportunities. But I guess that's just the fucking fight game, man.
I guess so. Yeah, it's terrible. It's frustrating, and yeah.
But one thing that some of these guys can do, though, that are trying to get to the title is just, and it obviously sucks because if you already deserve it, you should already be there, but it's just be undeniable.
Yeah. Well, and that's what I thought Shavkat was. I thought Shavkat Rachmanov, I understand some people are like, you can't give him a title shot of beating Jeff Neal. And I'm like, why not? Like, it's just, why not? I mean, the guy's fucking, Shavkat Rachmanov is 17-0 and has gotten 5 wins in the last, since joining the UFC.
And never seen his scorecard.
Never seen his scorecard. And I don't understand how you can watch Shavkat Rachmanov go through Jeff Neal like that and think, like, we have to give another title shot to Colby Covington? Like, this is what I'm saying. Like, ever since UFC came out of the pandemic, they've been so fucking lazy. Like, they're just now talking about leaving the Apex. Dana said, like, hey, the Apex got too cozy. We're finally leaving the Apex. Like, dude, like, it took, like, every other sport has been consistently outside having fans. And I like an Apex card every once in a while, but, like, they've just been so fucking lazy. This is another example of that. Because, like, Colby's a guy that promotes himself, full props to the guy. He tries, he goes out there and he does, like, interviews with everybody. The guy does what he needs to do. And you're like, well, Shavkat doesn't do that. Shavkat doesn't trash talk, and Bilal Muhammad doesn't trash talk. And it's like, dude, Bilal Muhammad just destroyed a 17-0 Sean Brady. You can't promote that win? Like, everybody says he's boring. He fucking butchered him on Shavkat Rachmanov. The guy doesn't speak English, but how can you not watch that guy?
He doesn't need to speak English to do what he does.
Exactly. Yeah. What about Hamzat Chimaev? Is he not a big enough draw for you? Like, what about fucking, like, Gilbert Burns? Is he not, like, there's 4 different guys. So it's just crazy. And I've gone on too long about this, but it's just embarrassing. Because this sport is it's so good. Whenever the sport is, like, good, there's nothing better on the planet. There's nothing, like, Leon fighting Kamaru in London, that crazy crowd, seeing that moment, that whole night. That was a sport at its best, immediately followed by the sport at its worst.
No,
and that's just
fucking joke.
That's just how it is. But anyways, man, about time to move on, because in that co-main event, dude, Justin Gaethje hit y'all with the Roy Jones. Y'all must have forgot. Because, man, facing Rafael Vaziv, one of those new kids on the block, I mean, we've seen a couple of these fights now where the old guard has stood strong, Beneil Dariush beat Mateus Gamrot. We saw fucking, it's not the exact same situation because they're both veterans, but you see newcomer Michael Chandler losing to Dustin Poirier, recently. Obviously a different scenario, but it's still a relatively new guy to the organization. And then another one, Gaethje defeating Rafael Vaziv. Dude, what a win by him. Comes out, got rocked early, but he stayed in there, he stayed in the pocket, and I'm pretty sure, man, mouth breather Gaethje, he fixed his nose, man. I think that's actually like a big factor into this. But yeah, he ended up winning by decision. What did you think about it, man?
I mean, again, like I said, like he was kind of on the back foot there for a bit. He got rocked twice? In, what was it, the first round? And would have been the third round. But he stuck to it, man. He brought it back and ended up closing it out and winning and getting a victory that a lot of people had picked against him. A lot of people didn't think he was going to get it done, but he ends up getting it done against a Muay Thai specialist. And Vaziv, I heard people saying this was a experience diff. How do you feel about that?
You said it was what?
It was an experience diff. Like, the experience is what won Justin the fight.
I mean, it definitely helped. I mean, Rafael Vaziv is as good as he is, and I feel like most people can see how good he is and how fast he is and so on and so forth. I mean, he hasn't really faced anybody at the top level. I mean, he beat RDA, and that was a good win, but RDA is 38 years old. And before that, he beat Brad Riddell, who, Brad Riddell isn't even fighting right now. He's taking time off. He's lost 3 in a row. Like, most of his wins, you can look back at and be like, oh, well, I can see, why that.
Yeah, no, Brad Riddell was on the come up though with him. Like, that was kind of.
No, I agree. I'm just saying, like, this is the first time where he faced somebody that's a firmly top 5 guy. And to jump from a 38-year-old RDA to Justin Gaethje in his prime is a massive jump, So I think the experience had a lot to do with it. But I mean, ultimately, I think, dude, like, I was just so fucking impressed. I was so impressed, man. So I mean,
and I do want to say one thing. And Kamaru talked after the fight that he's going to give it one more run. Because it kind of seemed there for a while, and the reason I mention this is because Justin ended up mentioning something, but I'm going to lead into it. Okay. Essentially, they're promoted by the same guy, right? Ali, right? Or they got the same manager, I guess is probably the right way to put it. Of course, they're promoted by the same guy. They're promoted by fucking Dana, right? The UFC. But Kamaru said, and we didn't even talk about this, Josh, but Kamaru said he's got like one more run in him, which is kind of a nice thing to see, right? Because retirement didn't seem far from him when he was with the title. So there's that. And at the start of the Justin fight, it was right before Justin worked out, right? I think it was even pre-fight. John Anik said something about Justin's career and there not being much, kind of near its end or something. And it's funny because I was like, dang, does that mean Justin's about to retire or something? Like, it kind of got my brain going, and the fight ends, and kind of the same thing happens. That I didn't, I was at the time we didn't know Kamaru would say it, and Justin says, I got one more run in me, and then that's it.
Mm-hmm.
It was kind of weird to me because it got alluded to even before and I'm guessing he might have mentioned something in a pre-fighter meeting, and kind of why John Anik might have dropped a little bit of knowledge on us there for kind of early on, but I don't know. Did you hear that? Did you catch that beforehand?
I did not catch that beforehand. I did not know that. No. That's interesting. What do you think about the fact that they're both? It's kind of weird, right? It's kind of interesting to see that these because you don't really talk about it. Most people don't talk about it too much about how Gaethje and Usman are they're kind of in this together for one last ride.
Yeah, they're training partners. I mean, there's like that footage of him getting ready for Abib at his they're at the apartment or house or whatever, and they're chilling together.
Yeah. I mean, they're actually really good friends. They're actually boys. And to have two guys like mid-30s to have their kind of like, I don't know how it's gonna go, but like Angel, like this is fantasy booking right here. But like, just imagine Justin Gaethje goes out there and he beats Dustin Poirier next time out, and then Alexander Volkanovski goes out and beats Islam Makhachev. Actually, I don't think it really matters who he faces in this situation. I just thought Volkanovski would be an easier fight for him. But anyways, Gaethje goes out there, he beats Dustin Poirier's next fight. Kamaru goes out there, beats, Bilal Muhammad or something. I don't know. And then it's Kamaru Usman versus Justin Gaethje. Not Kamaru Usman, on the same card, you know what I mean? Kamaru Usman versus Colby Covington 3. Justin Gaethje versus Islam Makhachev or Volkanovski. And they both win the title, and they ride off into the sunset. Angel, is that not a fucking movie, man?
I mean, that's poetic, man, but I don't think we're gonna live in that reality.
No, we're not gonna see that. I fantasy book this all the time. I didn't even bring this up whenever we had John fought last, but as soon as John fought and he was going back and forth with DC, I was like, I thought about bringing it up on the show. I didn't even do it. I was like, Angel, how about Daniel Cormier comes out of retirement?
I thought about this at one point.
You thought about this too?
Of course, dude.
I mean, how much do you think DC's walking? How much do you think he's walking around these days? You think $3 bills?
He's thick, bro. He's thick. I don't know. He's up there. I don't know, but it's up there.
I don't know about $3 bills because DC is like 5'7", but he's in the 260 bare minimum. He's a big boy.
Yeah.
But,
I mean, it kind of reel it back in. Who does Justin fight? I mean, it has to be DP3, right? Dustin Poirier. DP3 does Dustin Poirier. I don't know why I added the 3.
Yeah. Yeah, man, I would, I'm so down for that fight. I think that's like
the rematch.
The only fight that makes sense right now, actually, for both guys.
That's like the clearest fight we have in the fucking, I think in that weight class, funny enough.
because their first fight was so epic, and everybody, and I
fucking
remember,
banger.
and I think the funniest part about that too is I remember everybody heading into that fight. I remember a lot of people thought Gaethje was gonna fuck him up because Poirier, he had a couple of good wins, but he also had, I think that was either right after or right around the time that he faced Eddie Alvarez and nearly got knocked out, and he got knocked out with Michael Johnson around that time.
I mean, that's the other guy on the way out.
Yeah, and that was kind of the fight that made Dustin Poirier become, like, he's always been a fan favorite, but that put him in the violence, like one of those guys that, like, every single time you see him, you're like, all right, it's going to be violence. It was after that night. So at least that's whenever I had that connection to DPs. But anyways, yeah, I'd be totally down for that rematch. 5 rounds too. I think, like, if they don't have this is gonna sound weird, Angel, but I want to hear your thoughts on this. So International Fight Week is coming up in July, and they want some really big fights for that one. And I know that Jones Stipe is obviously in the works. We are hearing about Edwards taking on Colby, which, God forbid. And there's one other fight that I've also heard about potentially being talked for. Oh yeah, Yair versus Volkanovski. Would it be crazy if we had 3 5-rounders on there? We had Jones Stipe, you have Yair Volkanovski, and then you do Gaethje Poirier. 3 5-rounders, International Fight Week, Angel. You down for that?
Josh, do you really want me to have an erection right now? Like, come on, of course I want that.
In the words of the great Jake Hager, you got a phoner? You're rock hard with emotion right now?
Not even just that. In the great words of myself, Josh, I am DTF.
Down to fight. And that's exactly what Gaethje and fucking Poirier are going to be. Yeah, man. I'm down for that fight. I think, and you can even argue the winner would deserve a title shot too, which is kind of crazy to think about.
They would be DTF.
Yeah, they'd be down to fight, definitely. Anyways, man. Next up on the card, not a lot to say about this one because it was so quick. Gunnar Nelson. I mean, pretty much exactly what you expected, man. Goes in there, takes down Brian Barberena. First round submission win. Gunny hitting the arm bar. 2 wins in a row for him, man. Gunnar, he's a guy, he's sticking around. You don't think about him too much. He's 34 years old. He's getting up there in age. But he's still consistent. He's still going out there. He's getting wins. What do you think about this one?
He's doing the damn thing, man. I gotta respect it. I mean, I picked a guess, but I was like, dude, Brian Barberena is one of those guys who could get a sneaky win in here. And I was just like, maybe, you never know. And I was like, I don't want to live in my mind knowing what if I could have picked Brian Barberena. And I tried, and it didn't go my way. And I knew that Gunnar, if he was to win, it was going to be the way it happened, and that's exactly what went down.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I think after his last fight, Brian's last fight, when he got taken down by RDA and pretty much submitted immediately, I was like, well, I mean, I'm happy he's getting paid, but I don't even see it. I forgot this fight was even happening until for a moment until I showed up on fight night, and they were like, "Oh, next up, Gunnar Nelson, Brian Barberena." I'm like, well, I don't even need to watch this one. Fucking, no offense, I'd love me some Brian Barberena, but this is a terrible booking for him, man. But yeah, I mean, who would you love to see Gunnar fight next, man? 2 wins in a row. What do you think? Who do you think would be fun for him to fight?
I mean, there's a lot of. I don't know, just anybody. I mean, he's got a ways to go to the rankings, man. I feel like because he had a little layoff, right? That was a big thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, so he obviously he beat Brian, and then it was almost a year-long layoff, almost a year to the day, because March 18th he beat Brian, March 19th last year he beat Takashi Soto, and before that he took off 3 years. So. Yeah, he's an interesting guy. I don't know who I want to see him fight. That's partially why I went and asked you, because I think...
Do you want to see him fight RDA?
That's actually a really good booking right there. And I think that you even put that in a fight night main event, probably.
How about that? Just cause, right? Give him a little push. Give him a little boost.
Why not? A nice little 5-round main event. Fight night. Probably at the Apex for some reason. Not fucking
in the Apex.
In the
theater. What was the one theater they had? The
theater at the Virgin Hotel, I think.
The theater at the Virgin Hotel.
I know. Nothing wrong with being a nerd and a virgin.
Right?
Yeah. Anyways, man, this was a good win for Gunnar. Excited to see him back. But a very shocking loss happened on the main card as well. Jennifer Maia defeating Casey O'Neill, handing her first loss. I did not see this coming, man. What'd you think?
Wow. I mean, this one, it threw me off. But at the same time, once again, like I kind of mentioned this earlier, it was an experience tip, man. I think that's what it was because Casey O'Neill kind of just stuck, kind of tried to keep doing the same thing, kind of came throwing the same stuff, and it kind of it just made Jennifer Maia's night kind of easy. She kind of had it figured out. She knew what to do, and she did it. She adapted, and she won that fight. I mean, that was the difference between a well and experienced fighter and a young and talented fighter with not a lot of experience, but has a lot of potential.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and this is a big win for Jennifer Maia too, because she's heading into this one. You know, she beat Marina Moroz, but I don't know how many people. I didn't rate that win super highly. I don't think Marina's ranked at this point in time. And before that, she'd lost 2 in a row. You know, like she was having some rough. She was kind of been going back and forth. So for her picking up this win was massive. I think she's gonna bounce back. She's too young not to. She's only 25. She's only 4 fights into her UFC run. Like this is her 5th UFC fight. So this is probably a good moment to pump the brakes. Not everybody can be Aaron Blanchfield. It is what it is, you know.
Oh man, look at you, Josh. I mean, I'd say you're dick riding, but I don't know if that's the proper terminology here.
I don't think that's the proper terminology, but for reasons we're not going to say what the other terminology is either. It could be anything for all I know.
Right.
Definitely not going to risk it. But hey, it's well known here that I am a massive Aaron Blanchfield fan. So, I mean,
I wouldn't have known, Josh. I mean, just like I know you're a massive John Jones fan.
Oh, you know me, John. Me and John, thick as thieves. Actually, John, me and him, you know, whenever the coke was found in the car that he hit the pregnant lady.
Oh.
That was my coke, Angel.
Can you imagine?
He was doing me a favor. No.
He took the fall.
He did take the fall. Jokes aside. Yeah. Anyways, man. In terms of, next on the main card, Marvin Vettori. I was very shocked at this one, defeating Roman DiDelise. Not shocked necessarily, but first of all, we should note this fight was pretty close, and I saw some people saying Roman thought. Let me rephrase. Some people thought Roman deserved the nod. What did you think, man? Yeah,
I thought it was close. It was close though. Like it's not one of those where I'm mad because I'm like it was a hard fight to score. It was close, and once again, like another person winning it kind of on the back foot. Like it was kind of like I'd say it was the theme of the night.
It was. And I thought and by he, I mean Marvin, I thought he did a lot of good work on the back foot. I actually thought, this is probably one of the better performances he's had in the UFC, because he went out there and he got rocked in that first round. Roman DiDelise, maybe not rocked necessarily, but he was taking some huge shots. Roman hits hard as hell, man. For him to stay in the fire and just come back and rally and win the next 2 rounds was incredible. I mean, according to 2 judges. One judge was fucking Stevie Wonder out there and gave the first round Roman DiDelise, man. Jesus. But anyways, and by the way, in case this dude's gotta be public enemy number 1 in the UK for judging, because I had no idea who this guy was before. But this guy's name, let me see if I can pull it up actually, because this guy is horrendous. Paul Sutherland. Paul Sutherland, he was there all night, man. He scored Omar Morales 30-27.
Yeah, dude, that shit was some insanity right there.
Yeah, that is insane. But don't worry, Angel. There's some more. He scored Marvin Vettori, Roman DiDelise 30-27 for Marvin. He scored Gaethje Fiziev 28-28. So yeah, all the weird scores came from one fucking guy.
This guy just likes being a weirdo, dude.
I mean, if you look up his record, and you know what's the weird part about it? I really just think he had like a bad night. Because if you look up like his record, thanks to MMA Decisions, you can pull up like his entire history. He's not terrible. Like he's had some dissenting ones where he's been like the guy that's, you know, picked the opposite fighter, but like it's not like overly egregious, you know. So he just had a really rough night apparently, Paul Sutherland. So yeah. But anyways, yeah, shout out Marvin Vettori, huge win for him. Very impressed. As far as the undercard goes, man, there was definitely a couple of highlights. Which ones do you want to talk about?
I mean, we gotta talk about Jack Shore a little bit. He got a submission win over Mach-1 Americani. The way the they were talking on the broadcast about it seemed like Mach-1's officially making this move to 145. Like, is that actually officially confirmed? Because I had talked to you about it in the pre-show, and you said it was kind of like, I don't remember if you said you didn't know if it was a one-off, but do we have any of that confirmed or not confirmed now? By any chance?
I don't know if it's been confirmed.
Well, regardless, at 145, how do you feel about Jack Shore potentially at 145? If this is like a permanent thing?
If it's a permanent thing, I'm down. I mean, for anybody who's a killer at 135, fucking go up, dude. Like, seriously, if you have the frame to do it, I don't know why you'd willingly, if you have the frame to move up or down, stay at 135. That division is a murderer's row. I mean, there are guys that are unranked that are just fucking savages. Like, if you just, like, there are unranked guys at 135 that if you just, like, scaled them up and just moved them to, like, fucking a different division, like, instant title contender, but they can't even get ranked because that's how good 135 is. So, yeah, I mean, I'm a big fan of it as a Jack Shore fan, man.
Mm-hmm. No, yeah, I mean, I'm curious to see. I mean, you could tell he was clearly a 135er who didn't cut weight to make 145. Not to make fun of him or anything, but
yeah.
He's definitely not hasn't built his body out fully yet for that 145 division, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so, I mean, I like the move, admittedly. I'm a huge fan of the move for Jack Shore. Mach-1 Americani, though, on the opposite side. Is this the end of his UFC run? Probably, right?
Man, fuck. I hope not. He's a fun guy to keep around. He's 7-7. He's even in the promotion, but I don't know. It's tough, man.
Yeah.
You gotta look at the guys he fought. I mean, it was Jack Shore, Jonathan Pierce, Lerone Murphy. I mean, he was 10-0-1. Jonathan Pierce is 12-4, who's now fighting Bryson Mitchell, and Jack Shore, who's now 18-1. I mean, he's fought some tough fucking guys.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, he has fought a lot of tough guys, and I'm not saying he's like bad, but it's more like, I just think, I mean, his recent record, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1-5 in his last 6. I mean, we'll see. I mean, Mach-1's probably not like on some crazy contract. He could come back, but we'll see. In terms of other fights in the card, we did mention Chris Duncan, Omar Morales for a moment. That was an alright fight. Again, Paul Sutherland, shout out.
I mean, it was kind of what was it? Chris Duncan, he had a good game plan. He adapted, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
The fight below it, though, Josh. Oh my God. This
killed him.
4 times.
Yeah.
By the way, late stoppage, right?
I mean, I don't know. Was he? I mean, that referee. See, this is my point, dude. Obviously, we talked about Paul Sutherland, but this entire night was weird in terms of like officiating and judging and all around. You know what I mean?
I mean, yeah, no, you're not wrong, but still, you know what I mean? Like, was it a late stop? I think it was a late stoppage, Josh.
Mm-hmm. No, I agree.
That was a rough one. I hadn't seen anybody go out like that in forever.
Mm-hmm.
That was a rough one to watch.
Yeah. No, it was. It was a really rough one to watch, and obviously a huge knockout win for him. You know, but you got to feel bad for Sam Patterson. That dude he was taking off his life. Jesus Christ.
I mean, I was excited, man. He was like 6'3", 155 pounder. He had like a 10-inch reach advantage. I was like, I'm curious to see what this guy can do. Fuck, man, we didn't get to see any of that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Definitely, but I mean, that was a solid win for him. Dude, we got to talk about Muhammad Mokaev. Jesus, man. What the fuck?
Another one, man. Another one. In the 3rd round.
Yeah, and also, like, he just keeps on having these moments where it's like, he'll go out there and, like, he'll be winning these fights, but then he'll find himself in just a position or something will go wrong, and he'll have to work his way out of it. And to his credit, he keeps on doing it, because he won here, 10-0, but his knee, oh my God, did you see the picture afterwards?
I didn't see a picture. Was it bad?
I literally, I think it was bad. I literally couldn't look. I saw he posted the image, and I literally tried not to look at it, because in the comment section was just like, oh my God, his knee's the wrong direction. You know?
I'm going to try to find it while we're talking.
Yeah, I mean, it was just, I'll probably make a clip of it and put it in here. I mean, it looks It looks horrific.
Oh, yeah, I see it. Yeah, that's rough.
Yeah, definitely. Anyways, man, hell of a win for him. Not the way you want it, but big. I mean, just to stay undefeated and to survive that, fucking crazy. On the early prelims, Lerone Murphy picking up a big win over Gabriel Santos. What do you think about the decision there? I'm curious.
I'm trying to remember this fight off the top of my head. I can't remember it. Was this a banger? Wasn't this like a back and forth fight?
It was it was a very back and forth fight.
Shouldn't these guys got fight of the night as well?
I mean, I thought that they should have been, I thought they deserved, maybe not fight of the night, but they put on a fucking show, dude. They were trying to kill each other from, round one onwards, so.
I remember that being a pretty good fight. I mean, I can't remember the decision off the top of my head, but I remember it being a fucking good fight.
Yeah. But, if you don't remember the decision, that's fine. But, yeah, it was a really fun fight. I thought Lerone Murphy deserved the nod anyways, but I did see some people, complaining about it, but people always do that, so. Christian Leroy Duncan, he was a CLD, hyped up guy, ends up beating Dusko in just over a minute because of an injury. Unfortunate way that one turned out. But, it is what it is. Dude, Jake Hadley, shocking win for him here.
I didn't think it'd be that easy.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not surprised that he won. I was very surprised that he went out there and knocked him out in a minute. Malcolm Gordon is the real deal, so.
I mean, I guess the proper way to put it is he made it look easy.
Well, yeah. So, I mean, hell of a win for him. He's an interesting prospect. It's looking like it's aged well whenever Dana took a risk on him, because he missed weight on the Contender Series, but he just looked so good on the show, decided to give him a contract anyway. It looked like that's probably going to pay off, because he's a young kid. He looked good here, and seems to have gotten his stuff under control. And, dude, a potential fight between him and Muhammad Makayev might come next, or at the very least sometime in the future, because they're going back and forth, and I think that'd be a really fun fight. But
I don't know, they're chirping at each other.
I know, 10-1 versus 10-0, I'd be down, but we'll have to see. Yeah, and then last couple fights just kind of acknowledged. Shout out Joanne Wood picking up a win, man. She's had a couple of rough fights. Love to see her pick up a win over Luana Carolina. I thought the fact that one was a split was crazy. Jai Herbert defeating Ludwig Klein, solid win. And then our girl Juliana Killer Miller, this sucked. Veronica Hardy, though, god damn. I mean, she looked unreal out there. And she took off 3 years, and I guess training with Dan Hardy really, being married to him really did help. I mean, any final thoughts on this card, man?
I mean, good for her. I mean, to kind of talk about Veronica Hardy a little bit. They buried her at the very start of the fight. There was, no one in there watching her because they didn't want to have fucking Dan Hardy in the building that long. And, fuck, man, she had a hell of a performance, so good for fucking her, dude. She did what she had to do. A bit rough, a little disappointed in Juliana Miller. I'm not sure what happened, but, I mean, I'm sure she'll bounce back. I mean, she's tough, she's gritty. She's a dirty fighter in the best way possible,
Yeah. Yeah, dude, hell of a performance by her. I did not see that coming whatsoever. I mean, Juliana Miller will be back. She's young. But damn, dude, that one came out of nowhere. So that was a brutal fight to watch, man. She took a lot of punishment. But, yeah, good win there. Really fun card, man. Top to bottom. I mean, I'm hoping the UFC will go back to London again soon, because they are quickly turning into one of the premier locations for the UFC to go to, man.
I mean, it really has become one. I mean, I think it is already. I think we kind of have to just say it as it is. It's one of the best, if not maybe the best location right now for them.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. Anyways, man, we do got a card coming up this weekend. It's not a pay-per-view, but it's still a fight night. They're finally out of the Apex, because we got UFC San Antonio going down from the AT&T Center in San Antonio, Texas, a bantamweight main event. This one is going to be fireworks, man. 5 rounds between Marlon Vera and Corey Sandhagen. I mean, neither one of I don't think the winner here will get a title shot, but they'll definitely be in contention. Regardless, though, going to be a banger. What do you think about this one?
I mean, it's a banger. I mean, we've been saying since this fight got announced, it's a banger. It's going to be fireworks, potential fight of the year. Call it as it is, right? I mean, this clash of styles is amazing. I mean, I'm just glad that we're actually going to get to see it. I mean, I think I called for this fight too at one point. Kind of moving my microphone right now. Hope it's not making a lot of noise. Josh is like, dude, you're fucking annoying the fuck out of me.
Dude, what the fuck are you doing?
What the actual hell? No, I was kidding. But Yeah, no. I mean, to talk about the fight itself, I mean, Corey Sandhagen can do it all. I mean, he's dynamic. He's capable of, getting submissions on the ground, finishing fight on the feet, flying knees, whatever it may be. Cheeto, very measured, very calculated, super intelligent, great IQ. Takes his time, doesn't chase the finish. The finish will. I think what's the thing that the coaches always say? The finish will come to you. I mean, he is more than okay with that. He'll fucking wait, take his time, and then when the finish, if he can see the opportunity, he'll strike it and get it, man. Fuck, man. If Corey Sandhagen loses to Josh, and I've been saying this for a while, he's already kind of locked himself out of the title shot for a while, and probably even maybe forever in a way, Josh. I know that sounds really bad. I don't know if you agree or disagree with me, but if he doesn't lose here, I mean, the title shot is gone, right? Like, it's going to take a very long time for him to rebuild himself and get an opportunity at the title.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, he needs to win here bad. Not like he won't be cut or anything, but if I'm being honest, dude, I think he's probably already locked out of the title for the foreseeable future, just because the bantamweight division is so chaotic. I mean, I think that there's too much going against him to be in contention, even with a win here. But with a loss, I do agree, he'd be locked out for the foreseeable future. I don't know how he'd even get back. So that's why this fight is so interesting. Marlon riding a 4-fight winning streak, a couple of knockouts. There were some former champions in there. Corey, he is coming off a big win over Song Yadong, man. What do you think about this one? This is a very interesting fight to me because I feel like both these guys kind of thrive in the chaos of a 5-rounder, so I'm very interested to see how it's going to go down the stretch.
I think the big thing for me is because, a guy like Corey can make the fight chaotic and all that, but being in control still is obviously not getting lost in the sauce. And with, I know, right? But,
sorry.
Obviously not getting lost in the sauce, not getting lost in all of it, right? And maybe getting caught with something. And for Cheeto, also not allowing, not losing rounds, that he could get, or making the fight closer than it should be. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Because, I mean, Cheeto's been known to get those decisions that you're probably like, he probably should have got the nod, but he made the fight close. He made it difficult to score,
Mm-hmm.
And look, I get it, man. You fight your style, you do what you do, and it works. I mean, Cheeto's a very vocal guy, and I'm sure if he heard us speaking right now, he'd be calling us out on our shit. But, it's what we've seen, and look, he's at a good point right now in his career. He's been getting these finishes. He's capable of going the distance. His conditioning is amazing. His abilities are amazing. And he has all the tools to be potentially a champion. And this is his time. I think he needs to strike and take it. And I think if he gets this one over Corey Sandhagen, I mean, the statement is made, and it's all a title from here potentially, or maybe a rematch with Sean O'Malley to set him up for a title shot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and he's very, very close to getting a title shot. And you kind of mentioned, like, he kind of had a couple fights there and where he was making things closer than it needed to be. And admittedly, a lot of those were in 3-rounders. That Frankie fight, he was losing to Frankie until he got the knockout in the third. Dom Cruz, I don't remember that fight entirely, but remember correctly, wasn't Dom winning going into the championship rounds? Or, like, the additional 2 rounds, I mean? But, I mean, he's had a couple fights where he's made things closer than they need to be. I don't know, man. As much a fan of I am of Marlon Vera, I got a weird feeling about Corey Sandhagen. I feel like he's going to go out there and put on y'all must have forgot type performance. I feel like he's going to do that. Am I crazy?
I mean, he could. I mean, it's Corey Sandhagen. He's more capable than that. I mean, you got to look back at those fights, man, and kind of look at him as a whole. I mean, I thought he beat TJ. It was a split. I thought he did. Yeah. He made that Piotr Jan fight close. He could have maybe. I don't know if he would have won. I don't know.
He's been right there.
He's been right there. And look, he came back against Song Yadong, and he's like, I'm still here. He kind of already did that. I think, Josh. I think this fight, it's kind of more like secure his position and put himself at least in a spot where he still has an opportunity at the title, because it really is. It's just looking grim.
Mm-hmm.
I think the one good thing that has happened for him is the fact that the Piotr lost.
Oh, that's massive. Yeah, I mean,
that was a massive thing. And
also, I mean, who knows? I mean, he's got to fight. Aljo's got to fight Henry Cejudo.
And TJ's gone.
TJ's gone, and I mean, if Aljo loses, I don't think he'll be getting an instant rematch or anything.
And he's already thinking about 44-45. So
yeah,
it's actually not looking. Now that I'm kind of reflecting on it, and kind of talking about it, might actually not be that bad for Corey Sandhagen right now. Actually,
it's not that grim, but I think
it's
what
not
I mean
great.
more is he still even if he wins, I still think there's still multiple other people ahead of him.
Yeah, I mean, he's in a tough spot for sure, but I mean, that's how it is. But I think the one thing like he also has going for him, he's an entertaining guy. You know, they're more than willing to put him in main events. They're more than willing to give him names. So as far as stock and his ability to get, put himself in the position to go up the ladder, it's good. It's just capitalizing on it and doing it. I just don't think he's going to get it done this weekend, Josh. I mean, he could, but I don't know. I just don't see it. I think it's Cheeto time.
It might be Cheeto time, but we'll see. I think regardless of how it goes, it's going to be a hell of a fight, man. Both these guys, incredible chins, great gas tank, and they both come on as the fight goes on. That's what's very exciting to me. So we'll see what happens. Co-main event, though.
Did you give your pick? I'm sorry, I kind of got lost.
Oh yeah, I picked Corey.
Oh, okay, so we split. That's dope.
Yeah, so we will.
I wonder if we'll split here.
We may, because Holly Holm taking on Yana Santos. By that I mean Yana Kunitskaya. Yana has been out. She obviously got married to the great and powerful Diego Santos. And she hasn't fought in 2 years. Last time out, she faced Irene Aldana, lost by TKO. Taking on the former champion Holly Holm, been out of action for almost a year. She's kind of, I don't want to say in the twilight of her career, but she's kind of closing it out now. She's 41. She's still ranked highly. And she's kind of a position where any big win she gets, she kind of has enough star power, and the division is so weak to where it's like you can give her a title shot. What do you think about this one, man?
I mean, look, Yana's been out of action for a bit. She gave birth. She had a baby. Kind of been busy, trying to live a kind of family style. Her husband's had, fights, not in the UFC anymore, moving on to the PFL. I mean, their life has been active, There's been a lot of movement. She's coming back after a little layoff. Holly's been around, but we've seen her aging. She's been active. I mean, the same exact record. They fought some of the similar opponents. I mean, Yana's, she likes to stand up. She likes to strike on the feet. She's not like a wrestler. She's not like a crazy jiu-jitsu practitioner or anything like that. I mean, she'll obviously react to those things and adapt to it as the fight goes on. And, I mean, I think this is just a good matchup for Holly, man. Obviously she's older, but I think they kind of set her up good to be like, okay, you're in a good position to win this. Let's see if you can do it. You're older. We saw that in your last fight. Maybe slow down a bit. Maybe you should have got the nod. I think this will be a very indicative fight of how much is left in the gas tank, and if Holly's kind of, not, like maybe age is catching up to her, because I feel like she should be Yana. She should win this fight. It's just whether or not she shows up to it, and I think she will. I imagine she will. I don't think she loses to Yana Santos. If she does, I think retirement's not very far, and I don't think it is now either. But this would definitely kind of seal the deal a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like at this point in her career, she's kind of like any bad loss she has, she might retire. She's just at that age, in that stage. Because she only has like 20 MMA fights, but you got to factor in, she was a kickboxer before she was a boxer, and then she was a boxer before she was an MMA fighter. Like, she's been a professional and fought at the top level of all three. So definitely interesting. But in terms of like her kind of overall career arc, but
she's been around the block, man, and she's put in some amazing work in all of those sports.
Mm-hmm. And we'll see. We will see. Ultimately, what happens, but I do think that, I think she's gonna win here. I think that Yana, there's just a lot of question marks. I mean, she's in her mid-30s. She's not a spring chicken either. And she's in her mid-30s, missed 2 years, and I don't know. I think I'm going to pick Holly Holm here, but I'm also not very high on her future prospects, if that makes any sense.
Mm-hmm.
But anyways, man. Yeah, I'm going to pick Holly to win. In terms of the rest of the card goes, there's a couple of good fights here.
It's a pretty strong card, Josh. Even the main card itself could be like, you could divide, like, that top half could be the start of the main card, and the bottom half could be the end of the fucking prelims on a pay-per-view.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. I mean, this is a very solid main card. Very, very solid. Because we got Nate Landwehr, one of the most entertaining guys in the UFC. Just, Nate the Train is crazy, but I love him. Taking on Austin Lingo, 28 years old, 9-1, appears to be a legitimate prospect. And, you know, he was originally, actually, hold on, give me 1 second. Because somebody got replaced here. I just can't remember which one of these guys is a late replacement. Because Alex Caceres was originally on this card.
Nate Landwehr is still fighting, so it was Austin Lingo who came in.
Okay, there we go. Thank you. Nate Landwehr versus Alex Caceres sounds like a fucking banger. And even more upset that they got to rebook that. So please UFC. But also on the main card, dude, Andrea Lee, Macy Barber, both of these women trying to stay in title contention, or at least Macy Barber's case, trying to claw her way back. You know, she got really dunked on because when she first came to the UFC, she said she'd be the youngest champion. And she did have a couple of quick knockout wins, but then she lost a couple in a row. She's won 3 in a row now. She appears to be much improved, and she's still only 24. So, interested to see what she does here. And obviously, you mentioned the main card. Albert Durev taking on Chidi Njokuani, opening up the main card. That's going to be a banger, dude. I'm very excited for that. But give me your thoughts on those fights and any other ones from the undercard you want to talk about.
I mean, you named some bangers off there. I mean, I'm a little sad you skipped over our flyweights here. Alex Perez, Manel Cape. I mean,
I was just talking for the main card specifically.
Oh, this the guy's not on the main card? I see him on the main card here on
not according to Wiki.
Whoa, I see him on the main card on Typology. I don't know. Yeah. Regardless, though, that's a little movement there in the flyweight division. I mean, Manel Cape kind of finally getting it together, throwing, and kind of giving us that Manel Cape that we saw in Ryzen finally, you know, kind of show up, taking on one Alex Perez who, fuck man, how long has it been since we've seen Alex Perez last?
Alex Perez, his last fight was Alexander Pantoja, July 2022, lost by submission.
And before that, it was a 2-year layoff going into that fight.
Yeah, before that was the title loss.
Granted, though, they had tried to schedule him multiple fights, Matt Schnell multiple times, Askarov twice, and it never came through. So, not his fault entirely, but hey, man, it is what it is. That's just unlucky. But he is back now. That should be a fun fight, man. I mean, that's gonna push. If Manel Cape gets that win, he put himself right there in the conversation to potentially #1 contender position, title shot potentially in the future. You know, something there. It's nice to see that the flyweights are getting a little bit of movement now that Davison has moved on to 135.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. As far as the fight goes with Perez and Manel Cape, that's going to be a banger, and I'm really, really excited for that one. Manel Cape is a guy that, came into the UFC with a lot of hype, and he faltered at first, and now looks not, unbeatable or anything, but he's looked very, very good. I feel like Alex Perez is kind of getting set up here. What do you think?
I mean, kind of, right? I mean, that's what they're trying to do. I mean, they're giving Manel Cape they're making the pathway. He just needs to take it.
Mm-hmm. I feel like that's probably the best way to put it. Yeah. Regardless, I'm excited for that one. Shout out to the flyweights. How dare you think I would ever forget the flyweights? How dare you, Angel?
You bastard.
Anyways, yeah. Also on the undercard, got Daniel Pineda coming back. Excited for him to be back. Steven Peterson taking on Lucas Alexander. Battle of the first names. Both of these guys got first names, so shout out both of them for both their names. You know what I mean? Anyways, man. Yeah, I mean, admittedly, the undercard, I'm not as excited for, but I do think the main card's pretty sick. So, any closing thoughts on this one before we go ahead and move on?
I mean, not much, man. I mean, there's some younger guys you've seen on the Contender Series, guys have been on the come up. Trevin Giles on here, CJ Vergara. Victor Altamirano, who was actually very excited about Vinicius Salvador, who I believe is on the Contender Series. I might be wrong about that. Manuel Torres, a guy that I've actually known about for a little bit now. A lot of Mexican fighters I've heard him be mentioned in conversation that he's a guy and he needs to be in the UFC. And let's see. I mean, I'm actually kind of excited to finally see him here making his debut. 155, 13-2, nice little record there. I haven't checked any of his fights out, but his nickname is El Loco, meaning the crazy. So let's see. I believe that's what it is. Yep.
It's a pretty great name. So shout out to him. Yeah, man, pretty solid card. It's not anything too crazy. Obviously, when you're coming off a pay-per-view, you're gonna feel a little bit of a Feel a bit of a low regardless, but yeah.
It's still a strong main card, Josh.
It is.
Yeah, I mean, it's still a very entertaining main card.
Yeah, it should be fun. It should be fun. Yeah, man. In terms of other stuff this week, there's no more fights to talk about this week. I mean, the only other big news, Caleb Plant, David Benavidez going to be fighting, I believe. That should be a banger.
That's a banger.
But obviously we're not, I don't think we really have a whole lot to say about that one. I mean, if you want to give your quick thoughts on that one, you can, but.
It's just that it's be a fun fight. There's a lot on the line for that. I mean, a hard fight for Caleb Plant, a hard fight for his opponent too. Obviously going to be fighting to keep that undefeated record, obviously fighting to get a shot at the title again in Caleb Plant. And Caleb Plant is one of those guys who obviously got a lot of doubt going into his Canelo fight. Going into this fight, he's getting a lot of doubt too as well. He's talking to shit. He's defending himself. He's like, hey man, I performed last time against what was it? Was it Durrell? Was that Durrell?
Yes.
It was Durrell, and he did his thing, and now he's gonna try to do it again, and kind of, I wouldn't say shock the world, but kind of prove the people wrong and prove the haters wrong, and people are doubting him because obviously at one point he held the title and he believes he's championship caliber, and he's gonna try to capture that once again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, fair enough, man. I mean, I'm very excited. I mean, I really don't have a whole lot to say because I'm very back and forth on that fight, but I am really excited for it. A lot of people are just thinking David Benavidez is just gonna run through him, man. I feel like a lot of people are kind of
Caleb Plant's tough out, man. We saw it with Canelo. We saw it in his last fight. I mean, it's just. Do not doubt Caleb Plant is all I can say.
That's 100%. But anyways, in terms of news, just a couple things to go over. We don't have a whole lot, but Kevin Lee's back in the UFC, and we've kind of been wondering what's he gonna do? Lightweight, welterweight? Will he fight a contender? Will he be brought back as an old, not old, but more of a fan attraction guy that they just know that fans are into and could put on some fun fights? It looks more like they're going for the second part than the first. Because apparently him versus Tony Ferguson is in the works for UFC 290. That'd be July International Fight Week. Is this the right booking? I mean, what do you think, man? This is Kevin Lee's first fight back. Tony's lost 5 in a row. They got history, obviously.
I mean, I guess the whole thing is that, they're trying to help Kevin Lee out in a way, right? They're kind of trying to give him an opportunity. But at the same time, they're kind of using Tony, but not using Tony because they also are trying to give Tony a guy who, admittedly, on his way out wasn't doing the best, right? So, there's that too. I'd say it's an alright booking. I wouldn't say I'm the biggest fan of it. I'm just curious to see how Kevin Lee comes back, and I'm curious to see what changes he's made because he's a guy who at one point, he had beaten guys like Ali Aquenta, Benil Dariush, right?
Mm-hmm.
Those are some high profile names, guys who had power behind them, guys who are fighting, who have one who fought for the title, one guy who's is deserving of a title shot. These are the people he has beat at one point, and it's I don't know. It's it's not the same. I'm not comparing it at all. Do not think I'm saying these guys are similar at all in their situation, but Cody Garbrandt, but in a different way. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There was success at one point, but then there was this drop, and obviously they have both happened for different reasons. But that guy is still there, and whether or not that guy can be seen again. And for Kevin Lee, I wonder, are we ever going to see it again? For Cody, we saw it, right? We saw a glimpse. We got it back. I think this is Kevin Lee's opportunity. I think with Tony Ferguson, obviously they're helping him out, but I think the fight after that will be very indicative of truly how much here Kevin Lee really is and the changes he has made to find success, and especially to be at 170 and kind of his future at 170 because 170 is a hard division too, man. And look, and it's just a sad reality of this sport. Not everybody's gonna be world champion. Not everybody's gonna fight for the title, but you can have a place in this sport by being a very competitive guy, putting on great fights and winning lots of fights and never reaching a title. That is the one beautiful thing about this sport. Even if you do lose, your stock is not gone.
Correct. And in terms of this fight, I think it's an interesting booking, but I saw people being they're just trying to kill Tony Ferguson, they're trying to give Kevin Lee a big win. It could be that, but also I think they're probably just legitimately unsure where he is in his career. I understand he's calling to fight, Hamza, and he's calling to fight Shavkat, and these these absolute monsters. But the guy also just went to a decision with Diego Sanchez, and he's lost a lot of fights recently. Well, pretty much any time he's faced a high level guy over the last couple of years, he's kind of faltered. So, I think this fight makes sense just because we don't really know where Kevin Lee's at. We kind of know where Tony Ferguson's at for the most part. He's lost 4 or 5 fights in a row, so you kind of got a good idea at this point. I'm fine with it. I think for International Fight Week, it makes sense. That's going to be a massive card, and I think it's fine. I think it makes logistical sense. These guys fought. If you guys have not seen the fight, way back in 2017, October 2017, I think, UFC 216. It was a banger of a fight, so we'll see what happens. But yeah, it should be a fun one if it does get booked. I guess Tony's found some time on spring break to go ahead and schedule this fight. So,
Break.
Jokes aside, that's legit. That could be a legitimate reason why, because it's not a coincidence to me that Tony Ferguson. Okay, so last time we fought was September. School starts in late August, and now he's coming back in July when there's no school.
Well, Tony's busy in Harvard, Josh. Come on.
He is. I'm not even joking. That's legitimately why. So.
Hey man, do his thing, right? Respect. That's it's a very prestigious place to go to school to, and he has the financial ability to go there. So, nothing wrong with that, right?
Definitely.
One of my favorite quotes, Josh, and I'm sorry to cut you off there.
Go ahead, yeah.
It's don't hate on success. It's not success will hate on you.
There you go. Anyways, man, last bit of news. We haven't talked about this. This has been in the works for a while. Kingpin is
This came out of nowhere for me.
Yeah, there's been rumblings, but now they're coming on, man. Misfits Boxing is obviously in the space. You got Jake at MVP. You got a couple of other, influencer-ish boxing promotions. Kingpin is going to be the next one, man. Because Kingpin, don't know who it's ran by, but they just announced an 8-man tournament for this year with all influencers in the winner. We'll get $1 million, and they announced a couple of those matchups, man. Obviously, one of those, Austin McBroom and Anderson Gibb. What do you kind of think about all this? I know that you're obviously kind of learning a lot right now, but so you just learned about it. But give me your initial thoughts about this.
It threw me for a loop. I think the cool thing it's a tournament, right? This is kind of this will really show out of these particular influencers who is built for this shit. You know what I mean? Who's really committed? Who's really putting in that work? Who's really training? Because especially at the level they're fighting, some people are fighting 5, 6, 10 times a year against lower end competition to build up a record, or some, decent journeymen, right? Who can give you a tough fight. So we'll see out of this group of people who's down for this shit. You know what I mean? I think that's a good test. And it's kind of a nice way to bring Gibb back too into the mix. We haven't seen him in a while. He hasn't been really mentioned in Misfits. Apparently he's been asking for too much money, yada yada yada. King Kenny up in here again. Obviously he's coming off a loss. We get a lot of gals too. Influencers are getting their shot here. Obviously some gal, I think only one of these ladies has participated in, who's Elle Brooke, who, obviously she's made her big splash because of her content outside of boxing and within boxing too. So she has a little traction there because of that. So there's a lot of behind it, and I think this is a really fun thing. I see why Misfits wouldn't do something like this, but I would also love to see them do something like this as well at some point.
Yeah, I agree. I think there's a lot of potential here to do some fun things, and I'm happy that they're going ahead and having a tournament, because I feel like influencer boxing is kind of a space to do some nice and fun and interesting things, and Misfits has done that a little bit, but I honestly would prefer, instead of tag team boxing or some of the other crazy shit they've done, I'd much rather prefer this. I'm a big fan of, even if they want to do one-night tournaments or whatever it may be, I'd be way more
Holy
intrigued.
shit, could you imagine a one-night tournament with influencers?
You don't even have to do too many. You can just do I don't know.
3 fights total. Right?
You can even do it less than that. Bellator had a one-night tournament back in the Bellator, the light heavyweight one they had, Bellator 142. We just talked about it last week, funny enough. Dynamite. They had that one night tournament, and they had 4 light heavyweights, and they each fought twice.
I mean, shit, heavyweight's a different story though, bro. Like,
That's true.
Heavy. I mean, look, I mean, I was thinking like, first round. I guess, it would be 3 first round, second round, and then third round would be championship fight.
Fair enough. Yeah, man. But just to kind of close out on this topic, big fan of this. Ultimately, I don't really know who this is. I don't know where they're getting money from.
By the way, Josh, you know what we should do?
Huh?
We should start our own like counter promotion. We should start influencer MMA, Josh.
Why not? I'm sure they're all just.
Who would be our first matchup? You know, we gotta have our boy PJ on there, Overflow. But who would he be up against? Who would be someone fun?
Shit. I mean,
it doesn't have to be super realistic either, Josh. I mean, we could do like Ashton Kutcher because I know he's like a fucking brown belt, right?
Let's do him let's do our boy PJ Overflow versus Mark Zuckerberg. How about that?
Oh fuck! I think Mark Zuckerberg's about to get fucked up, dude.
I
mean, the Zuck's a
not
robot.
my problem.
I don't know. I mean, I was down for Ashton Kutcher, fucking our boy PJ, man. I mean, that brown belt, black belt. I mean, I thought it was, which I mean, I don't know. Ashton Kutcher might be a black belt by now.
Shit, maybe.
I don't know, but that'd be a little fun. I know we're getting a little off track here, but
no, it's all good. It's all good.
I want to see these guys in a cage, man. I want to see some real violence. I mean, they're always talking about like, I'm gonna fuck them up. Okay, I was like, I get it. Boxing's fun. I love it. It's one of my favorite sports. But I'm like, let's see these fuckers in the cage, man.
I'd like to see somebody try it. I'd like to see like just one promotion. I don't need like all of them.
There's been one time that I've seen influencer MMA.
Yeah. The
pro CS:GO player.
Yep.
Knocked out another guy.
I don't even need it to be like every fight, but if they just wanted to like if Misfits just had like one fight like in the ring and it was MMA, I'd be cool.
Mixed rules bout, dude. Could you imagine? Crazy like that.
Right?
No.
Anyways, man, any final thoughts on this before we close out?
I mean, not much. I mean, I'll definitely be checking it out just because I have some interest in the names and have a little bit of investment in them. And I see your boy Jarvis is back, which I'm like, damn. I'm a little sad it took this long to see Jarvis back, man. Because after he got that finish with Mikey Lee, it was kind of like, damn, I kind of got some stock in Jarvis. Like, I want to see what Jarvis can do. And he kept boxing. He's still training. That was a thing that he never quit doing. And obviously he had that footage of him with Floyd that had come out. Which, I mean, that's dope, man. I mean, look, he doesn't. I feel like sometimes people have too high of expectations. It's like, dude, the fact that he even got to be in there and have that experience is something amazing that a lot of young men and a lot of guys who are on the come up would love to have.
Right. Yeah, I mean, real quickly, just kind of talk about Jarvis. I was really surprised that he took as much time off. I thought he looked like
good.
It was such a quick fight, so you can't really judge it entirely. But I thought, like, damn, like he looked good, man. He looked like one of the more impressive guys that we've seen.
In their first fight, I think that was the other thing. It was his first ever bout. Like there was
and he went out there and just fucked him up, you know.
But his coach is really good. I remember him talking about that. He's like, the main thing we focused on is like he had to spar. Like we mainly focused on sparring because there was no other way he was going to gain experience fast enough outside of sparring.
Mm-hmm.
And he said that was the main thing they worked on. They just sparred. Obviously worked on I'm sure they worked on fundamentals, did stuff like that, padding, timing, but he's like the main thing was getting spar time in and getting him to understand how it feels to be in the ring. I mean, that's something that you can't emulate any other way in the actual fight, obviously, and especially in a controlled environment, because until someone's hitting you full force, until someone's running at you and moving fucking dumb or something, you don't know how to capitalize on it until you're in that actual situation or you've been into it multiple times.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and a lot of people just think like sparring is the same as fighting. It's not. Fuck no. And I don't know why people continue. I feel like a lot of people just have no, like, if that's true that you're going in there and you're treating a sparring session like you're fighting somebody, you're kind of an asshole. So I just gotta let you know. Like, you gotta, don't be trying to knock out your fucking sparring partners, dude. Like, but you see YouTubers say that shit all the time, so I don't know. But there is a massive difference. You know, it's not the same. Even if you try to go kill the guy, like, just the differences in terms of fighting it versus in front of a crowd versus, you know, fighting in the gym, fighting in a cage versus maybe just doing some sparring out on some mats on something. It's very different. So, yeah. Anyways, man, that's all I got though. That's all I got. I do want to go ahead and close out with a big thank you to all the support we've gotten.
Crazy.
Angel, I know Angel feels it too, man. We've had crazy growth over the last couple of months or so. I mean, we're about to be at 850 subscribers. Probably, I'm hoping to hit 1,000 by the end of April. That's my goal.
Wow.
So
I like that energy, Josh.
So I mean,
if at least if not this year, right? Let's just get really close to it this year, and ideally we want to hit it before. But it's exciting, man. A lot of views, a lot of people on TikTok, a lot of people on the shorts. Shout out to everybody who's been commenting. Kind of nice to see some people, get their opinion out there, get conversations going, maybe reignite some old conversations that we had in the past. And I'm just excited to do our. Next week we have MMA, Josh, so we might have to do some fucking fan questions. Just thought about that. Might have to put that out there.
Right. That's a good idea. Let's do some fan questions. I'll post it onto anybody that's listening to this. I'll post it on the YouTube channel post, which I've never done before, but I'll do that probably like Saturday or something. And I'll post it to Twitter and Instagram and all the places where you can find us, which you can find me at Josh Evanoff on Twitter. He's at Angel Ortega _1, at Courtside Sound for all things relating to the show. And, thanks for all the support. And like I said, keep an eye out on our social medias because we'll probably be doing some fan questions next week because there's not really much to talk about. But yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this episode. And thanks again for all the love and support. Peace and bud crease. Mouse click.